I'm here in Anaheim Stadium at the new show, and I'm in the booth. What's the name of your booth?
Vintage Visions.
Vintage Visions. And what city are you out of?
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles. Where? What streets in Los Angeles?
Venice Boulevard near La Brea.
Venice near La Brea. Okay. And I have a photograph. What it is kind of Carmen Miranda-esque, but is not really. So. What is this thing? Is this a tray?
It's a serving tray. It came out of a World War II Army trunk.
So it came out of a World War II Army trunk.
Yeah, everything in there was from that era, and the woman told me it was her father's, and it was...
Do you know the name of the father?
No.
Okay. So this came out of an Army trunk. Now, about when did you get a hold of that Army trunk?
About 6 months ago.
And where did you get that Army trunk?
In Mar Vista.
In Mar Vista, California. And so... Young man, so what is this made? Is this aluminum or some other kind of metal? What kind of metal would you say this is made out of?
I think it's aluminum, and it's hand-etched, as far as I can tell.
So it's hand-etched. So that would take forever.
Yeah.
Was this made by a slave who had all the time in the world?
No idea.
Or was this a union worker? So it was hand-etched. And so, young man, in hard cold cash. Now, what is your name again?
Robert.
Robert what?
Robert Berger.
Robert Berger. Now, is this spelled just like cheeseburger, or is there some special way?
B-E-R-G-E-R.
Okay. Robert Berger. How much in hard cold cash would it take to get this item from your hot little hands today?
Today, you get it for $35.
Okay, so for $35. And how old would you say it was?
I was told it's World War II, so 40s.
Okay, so this is from the 40s. Oh. So I'm here at the Anaheim show, and I'm in the booth. What's the name of your business?
Harper Moon Vintage.
Harper Moon Vintage. And what city are you located out of?
Orange.
In Orange, California. And now, do you have a mall space somewhere? Or?
No, I don't. I have an Etsy shop.
An Etsy
currently.
shop.
And I just work from it, and Facebook page, Instagram, social media.
Okay. And so your specialty apparently is vintage luggage.
Yes.
Now, can you tell me about the vintageness of these things?
Well,
I mean, is this here, was this made intact the way it is like 50 years ago? Or did it start off with just this and you put this on it? What?
The case itself is vintage.
Okay.
It is this is probably a 1960s vintage American traveler suitcase. And what I do is I revamp the outside, changing the look with more of a modern kick to it.
Okay, so you take vintage luggage and you apply sometimes new, sometimes vintage themes.
Yes.
And so how much would this one sell for?
This one would be $85.
Okay, so $85 for this one. And then we also photographed this one. Now, this one has a real travel look.
Yeah.
It's got postage all over it and maybe a travel stamp here or there. So how much would you want for this one here?
This one, the price on this one is $145.
Okay, so $140. Now, what was if you were to give this one a name, if you were like an artist and you were going to name your work, what would you name this one?
I think I would, I usually call it by what the name of the suitcase is. This is a Skylar.
A Skylar?
Yes.
Okay,
Skylar.
So this is a Skylar here.
Right.
Okay, and then the last one here is this one with the, is that a geisha?
Yes, it's a
Okay.
geisha print, and this is a Samsonite.
So this is a Samsonite, and with the Samsonite with a geisha on it.
Yeah.
And how much is this?
And this one is $100.
$100.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm here at now what is the official name of the show?
Trading Post 1908.
So that's what it's called. So people should go to the Trading Post 1908. That's the name of the show?
Trading Post,
that's the name of your business.
It's the name of the business, but the name of the show is Trading Post 1908, Antique, Vintage, and Handmade Market.
Okay.
So, yeah, but we just call it Trading Post 1908.
What do people actually call the show? Do they call it like Anaheim Stadium, or what's the... I mean, you're probably familiar with the Long Beach flea market.
And they call it the Long Beach Flea, and so
They call it Long Beach.
or Long Beach
Or
and
Vets,
so,
maybe. So what would be the name? Do you think? I don't think they're gonna use all 10 words.
Yeah, people have been referring it to just as the Trading Post.
Okay, so the
Yeah.
Trading Post. So that's what I'll refer to it as. And so it's a very large show here. So what do you have, around 215 dealers? Is that about right?
We actually have 160. It's
Ah.
just a lot of very large spaces.
And how large are the spaces?
They are 10 by 10s, 10 by 20s, and 20 by 25s.
And so what is the cost of the least expensive space?
150 for a 10 by 10.
So for 150, one could get into the show.
Yes.
Now I understand that your next show will be in January. Now what was the exact date in January?
January 3rd.
So January 3rd, so it's always on the first Sunday of the month. Is that the formula?
Yes, but it's 4 times a year. It's supposed to be on the quarter, the first Sunday of the quarter.
Uh-huh.
But because of baseball season in October, we have to push October to November. So it's January, April, July, November every year.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it'll be 1 year from now.
Yeah.
And so I was wondering, what is the concept of your main business? What is it that you do, the Trading Post do?
Well, what we do is that we really almost see ourselves as a social enterprise. The way that we help help small businesses grow. We kind of coach some of these vendors who have never been vendors before. We don't just sell a booth. We provide them with, 10-page packets on the best ways, tips and tricks to sell. We provide workshops on how to get a business license, a resale license, and so we help coach our vendors through the process.
So how long have you been doing that particular thing?
About a year. So, and now we are doing this large event, and so that's where we are.
And what were you doing before that?
Well, we were selling also at booths in the Orange Circle at a store in the Orange Circle.
Which store is that?
It's no longer in existence. Called Vintiques, and we had 5 booths within it.
Vintiques. How long ago was that?
That was up until about a month ago, and they just
I never heard of them. Where in Orange Circle were they?
They were on Chapman and Cypress, right by the railroad tracks.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, Vintiques Home Decor, but they just went out of business.
Well, I'm sorry to hear about that.
Yeah.
And so you were there. You had a large booth there. So where are you from? Are you from the Orange County area, or are you
Yes.
from out of state, or
I grew up in Placentia.
in Placentia? Where did you go to high school?
I went to El Dorado High School.
Did you go to Fullerton College by chance?
I went to Long Beach, Cal State
Long Beach. Wow.
I went to for my bachelor's degree. I went to Chapman for my MBA, and then I went to Chapman for my PhD.
And so, what was your majors?
It was consumer affairs for my bachelor's. My MBA was a business administration master's, and then my PhD is in educational studies, social entrepreneurship.
And so, with a PhD in that, is this what you had in mind when you got the PhD in that? Is this the kind of thing that you thought you'd be doing?
Well, I was teaching at Chapman for a while. I was teaching at Chapman, and then this started to grow so fast that I didn't really have time for teaching anymore. So this has become my full-time job.
Okay. Now, what was your name?
Kelly Rogers.
Kelly Rod. Would you spell Kelly? Because there's several ways to do it.
Kelly, and Rogers is Rogers.
Ah, okay. And so, how would you describe this operation here? When people talk to you over the phone and they're asking you about it, how do you describe what's going on here?
It's different when I talk to a potential vendor versus a consumer. As the consumer, this is a juried event. We select the best of the best. All our vendors have to submit an application, and we choose the best vendors around.
What are the criteria that you're looking for?
The main criteria is about obviously great product, but like quality product. But it's about having a staging and putting the effort into the craft of what you're doing, and not just throwing stuff out on a tarp on the floor. We really want to help. That helps our vendors because it helps keep price points in places where they should be. A lot less haggling happens, and so it's better for our vendors in the long run. And that's who our main customer is the vendors. And so when we're talking to vendors, it's about we're here to support you. We're here to serve the vendors.
Well, I was at one booth where they had vintage luggage. and I was very impressed with how well it was displayed. Would that be
Exactly.
a great example
Harper
of
Moon
what you're...
Vintage. That was Harper Moon Vintage, and Rosie is one of our great vendors, and we've gotten to know our vendors personally, and we enjoy having them all here, and that's something that you might not get at a flea market or a swap meet, where we personally get to know our vendors.
Whenever I write this, without using an incredibly long way to describe it, what is it? Is it a flea market? Is it an antique show?
It's three parts. It's an antique, vintage, handmade market. So we're three parts. Because we want to attract. The reason why we include handmade is because they.
But as a more generic word, when I'm describing it, that's
a market.
Okay.
We're a market.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, what is your contact information?
My email is kelly@tradingpost1908.com. And our website is tradingpost1908.com. And our Instagram and everything, all of our social media handles are tradingpost1908.
Okay.